Am I audible, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So here, uh, in simulation, what we have seen is we have seen that it actually mimics the behavior of the device, but it will not mimic the hardware part, right? But in the emulation part, what it does, it actually try to mimic the software and the hardware. The actual functionalities is tried to mimic in some other hardware. So suppose you are mimicking the mobile, then it will actually mimic the device hardware and the mobile's software. That will both will be done. So this is in the simulation part. There is no touch of hardware, you can say. In the emulation part, you actually try to imitate the behavior on the hardware. So that is the difference between the simulation and the emulation. And in the virtualization, in some cases of the virtualization, you actually do the simulation part, but in the some part of the virtualization, you do the emulation part. And there are various levels of virtualization. There are various types of virtualization that we are going to see the different one. But first, if we want to term whether the virtualization is simulation or emulation, so we cannot give it in, we cannot put it into one category. We have to say that it is the character, it has the characteristic of both. Like in the simulation, what virtualization does is it converts a server into a virtual server. And in the virtual server, it is not just a virtual representation of the real object, but it is the real object. Like you have the hardware. On the hardware, you are actually trying to create one machine which will be using the underlying hardware, but with the restricted access or the modified access. It emulates its own hardware by looking at what hardware is available and creates its own virtual version of the hardware, because we can have the multiple OS available on a single hardware. So the particular OS which we are putting on the hardware, that hardware try to emulate the hardware which is actually present or the required for that particular OS. So that will be done in this kind of thing. So in the simulation and the emulation, both characteristic virtualization have. Let's try to understand why we need to go for the virtualization, and how it can be beneficial for us. To understand that, let's go to a case. Let's try to understand again with the example. Now again, we have some companies. Let's suppose we have one person who has a company, and the company require. Now the company is having the, for operation, it has multiple requirement. So first requirement is it requires, suppose, 2000 square feet of 2000 square feet of data center. Like this much of physical space is required. Second is, to operate the company, it requires 100 physical server. 100 physical server are required. From that 100 physical servers, some servers are required for the infrastructure. Let's consider the 30 servers are required for the infrastructure, and 70 servers are required for the application. Like so 30 server is for firewall, for antivirus, for DSCP, for DNS, for all that work, for billing purpose, we require some dedicated server. So suppose 30 servers are required for that part which we are using for the infrastructure, and 70 are required for application. So this is our requirement. So in total, we require 100 physical servers. Third thing which we required for a company to work is a cooling system, because we are having 100 physical servers. So definitely we will be requiring the air conditioning to cool this servers. Next thing which we'll be requiring is for every server, they need to store some data. So let's consider we require 100 physical disk. 100 physical disk we require so that the servers can store the data, right? Next thing which we require is a cabling. Cabling is required because 100, if we are connecting the 100 computers, we require proper cabling for 100 servers, and we also require the power whips. which is required so that the power is properly supplied to the machines. Okay, next is the data center staff. Now we are having this much of 100 machines of data centers, so we require the staff so that the staff can actually work on or can maintain this 100 physical servers. Next thing which we will be requiring is electricity. Electricity is required, and what is again required, suppose there is a electricity failure, then we will be requiring the power backup. Okay, so please pardon my handwriting because I cannot write on this using mouse, but I'm trying my best. Okay, now power backup. So these are the things which we require if we want to build a data center to work for a particular company, and the cost to have this is 1 crore. Okay, we require 1 crore to have this data center set up for the particular company. Okay, now let's try to figure out how can we, if we are making this of, if this is the setup which is required by a company and the company feel this is required, not company feels, if it is there is a cost which is very large because company is not making that much of profit which the company is investing in this particular thing. So what the company can do so that the cost can be reduced and the same kind of functionality and the output can be received. So for that, what they can do is they can think of going for the virtual environment. How the virtual environment can help them to cut the cost. Now for this, let's consider this. They require 100 physical system. So 100 physical system require 30 infrastructure server and 70 for application, which will be actually handling the load of traffic which is coming to their application. So now this much is their requirement. Now for that, what they will do is they will buy 100 machines and then they set up that particular 30 and 70 servers, and then they will operate. To put the 70 100 servers, they will be requiring a large space so that 100 server can actually be arranged there and they can be operated. So this much of requirement they have. What if they think of, okay, because we require 100 servers, and we they have to think, okay, how much of every server will be utilized on daily basis and on weekly basis and on monthly basis and the yearly basis. They have to analyze this first, and then only they can come to the conclusion whether the virtualization can help or not. Suppose there are some servers which they don't require the large capacity. Suppose they have the server like billing system. So the billing system will be working mostly in the end of the month. They don't require the billing system to work in the through of the month. They require only 3 4 5 days of each ending of each month to actually generate the bill, or to actually know how much of the usage is actually done. So they require that point only in that days they require this billing system. They are having active directory server. The active directory server, it is observed that active directory server is actually used of 30% of the 30% of its capacity. They have identified that. Now same case for different servers which is there for their infrastructure and the application. They have identified that they have actually dedicated a physical server for that particular purpose, but it is not fully utilized. But once a server is configured for one particular purpose, they cannot use that same server for another purpose. Like billing server cannot be used for application directory server cannot be used for as a firewall, a firewall server cannot be used as a DNS server. So they are not going to use the same particular server for the other purpose, because they have actually physically given the server as a dedicated purpose. Now what to do that in that case? Let's consider if they want to have the solution for this. They can have a machine, let's say a server. Okay, they can purchase a server. In that server they can have suppose 64 GB of RAM, 2 TB of hard drive, 32 core of processor, So this is their configuration. Now they understood that they require suppose 4 GB of RAM for each of their server. So now in this 64 GB of RAM, they can create multiple servers with, and for each server they require suppose 2 GB of, or let's say 8 GB of, maximum 8 GB, let's say 8 GB of hard drive. So what they can do is they can create a virtual system over here. You can say a host or a virtual machine. They can create a virtual machine of 4 GB of RAM and 8 GB of hard drive. Okay. And from here we can allocate two core to each machine. So they can think of, okay, on a single machine we can create multiple servers. Now how this going to help them to reduce the cost? Because now the same the locate, because earlier they require 100 physical machine, now on a single server now they can create multiple machines. That means they don't require that much amount of space to store a single machine, because this is again a single hardware, single physical machine, and on a single physical machine we are actually creating multiple servers for different purpose. Like, suppose this is for firewall, this is for DNS, this is for DHCP. So for different purpose we are creating different servers on a single physical hardware. So that will going to reduce the number of physical server in the data center. Now, if the number of servers reduce in the physical data center, then definitely the location, the area they require to actually make the arrangement for the physical server will be less than what they actually required earlier, right? So first thing, there is a, they got the benefit in the area they need to capture. Next is cooling part, because earlier they required to cool the 100 physical system, now they don't require to cool 100 physical system. Now they have to only require to cool the system which they actual physical system, uh, physical soft system. Suppose they are having 20 physical system, on the 20 physical system they are creating multiple virtual server, then they only need to cool this 20 physical server, right? So this is the cooling part. The cooling cost is again reduced, because for cooling earlier if they required uh, 10 10 air conditioner, now they require less than 10 air conditioner. Now again, physical system they will be, let's not talk about physical system, cabling. Again the cabling part will be reduced, staff part again will be reduced, because staff and the electricity and the backup, see there are two kinds of cost involved when we consider this kind of setup. When we are virtualizing or cloud computing, there are two kinds of cost involved. The first cost is called as capex, which is capital expenditure, and the second type of cost is called as OPEX, which is called as operational expenditure. What is CapEx? Capital expenditure. When you first time, when you are buying a physical system, that is a one-time cost. You buy it and for a long period of time that you will be using. So that means it is a one-time cost. For one time you will be actually acquiring the place. So that is one-time cost you will be investing in. Operational cost, like a staff, you require a staff to maintain the systems, and that cost is each month you have to pay to the staff, that is operational cost. Electricity, each month you have to pay for the electricity bill. Backup, whatever backup technique you are using, whether you are using a generator, so each time you have to pay for that particular fuel to operate that backup. So that is what OPEX, and that is and some of its actual will be CapEx. So there are two kind of cost involved, CapEx and OPEX. Here what we are trying to do is we are trying to minimize both the cost. We are trying to minimize the CapEx with the help of a high-end machine, taking a high-end machine and actually you splitting the resources, so that on a single machine we can have multiple servers. And because we have made this machines number of less, we reduce the number of physical machine, so the staff we require will be actually less, because on a single server multiple servers can be maintained, and this is how the cost will be reduced. So definitely when we using the virtual environment, the cost earlier was 1 crore to have this the same kind of setup But 100 physical system, now the cost will be definitely low, because you actually using the virtualized system, and you are again the benefit of it, you are actually utilizing whatever resources you are having, you are actually trying to utilize it more efficiently. So this is how you can, this can be the benefit you can say which you are having for using the virtualization. Now we are done with the virtualization definition. Now to implement the virtualization, now this is our traditional computer. This is the computer which has different what you have is, you have a processor, you have a memory, you have a storage. So these are all part of, you have network. So these are all part of the traditional computer, that is your hardware. And then on the hardware you actually install your operating system, and then upon on it you will have the application. But in the virtualized environment, you have your hardware, then you have a virtualization layer which is called as VMM or a hypervisor, and on it you actually virtualize the resources which are there, and then you will be using the some OS, guest OS, and then again on it you will be using the actual application which you wanted to use. So these are the different machines you are creating, so that the same machines will be using the same hardware. Now there are different levels of virtualization implementation. The first level is called as instruction set architecture level. Second is called as hardware abstraction level. Third is called as operating system level. Fourth is called as library or user level API level. Or fourth, last one is called as application level. So there are different levels of virtualization. You can make the machine virtualize on different levels. So where you are actually virtualizing it, that becomes the level. Here we will be actually virtualizing at the instruction level. So let's see the first one, which is called as instruction set architecture level, in which what we are doing is we are actually executing the instruction which is meant for the one processor, and we are actually executing that on another processor. Like we have the instruction set which is applicable for Intel, and we are using that Intel instruction on the AMD 64. So that is what we are using, one set of instruction on some other processor architecture. So that can be called as instruction set architecture level. Second is called as hardware. Second is called as hardware abstraction level. In the hardware abstraction level, what we do is we actually there are the four types. There are in hardware level we have hardware of processors, memory, and IO devices. So when we are saying that when we are calling it as a hardware level abstraction, we are making this virtualization possible for all this, for processors, for memory, and for IO devices. So here you can see that you have this hardware part. In that you have system interconnect bus, IO and networking, main memory, memory translation. So this all comes under the hardware execution part, and that part you are actually using for the abstraction level. So you can have a single level of abstraction. You can have IO abstraction, you can have memory abstraction, you can have IO virtualization, you can have processor virtualization, you can have IO devices virtualization or memory virtualization. All things are possible in the hardware level of abstraction. Next is called as operating system level. In this, we are virtualizing the system on operating system level. Like we will be actually, what we do normally is we have the operating system, we have the hardware available with us. On a single hardware, we are trying to make multiple operating system. We are trying to make multiple operating system to run on the single hardware, right? So this is what is called as operating system level. So in this, what we are trying to do is enabling multiple isolated and secure virtualized servers to run on a single physical server. You can see that there is a single physical server, and here we are trying to run multiple operating systems. Next is called as library support level. In this, what happens is most of the application actually use APIs exported by the user level libraries rather than using lengthy system calls by the OS. They prefer to use API over the system calls. And this makes us able to use library system level virtualization. In this, what we do is we control the communication link between the application and the rest of the system through API hooks. So this part comes, and so here we are actually performing the abstraction at the library level. Like we are making the virtualization possible at the system call. So this is called as library support level. And the last part is user application level. You can see that this at this application level, we can make the virtualization possible for only application is virtualized, and it doesn't virtualize the entire platform or the environment. Only that application will be virtualized. So this was the part, this was the different virtualization level which we have seen till now. This part is not actually what you say, not actually there in your syllabus, but let to make you understand, because in further part, in the further part, we will be trying to use some of its virtualization levels. So that's why I have explained this to you, so that you can understand it better. Next is the virtual machine. Let's call what is the virtual machine. So a virtual machine is a software implementation of a machine, that is a computer, that executes program like a real machine. You know what is virtual machine? Like in your machine, you might have for us, if you have used VMware, you must have used VirtualBox. On that you must have installed Ubuntu or any other OS or Windows OS or CentOS or Red Hat. We must have installed some OS so that you can use that. So that in that there are two terminology which we will be using. First is called as host, or second is called as guest. Host is also called as target machine, and guest is also called as source machine. What is host? The primary environment where will be the target of the virtualization, and the guest is the virtualized environment where will be the source virtualization. Here we can understand with this. I don't know how to write it. Okay, yes. So now here we have two terms, host and guest. Okay, so suppose this is your hardware. Okay, on that hardware, if you have this OS, right, and on this OS you can have, because of virtualization, you can have multiple OS on that particular hardware. In that OS you have also have virtualized in PMM. Okay, so you will be having OS 1 over here, OS 2 over here, OS 3. So you can have many OS on this, right? So now let's understand what is host or target, or what is guest. So now what is host? This is the host OS. Okay, this is the host machine, you can say, because it is hosting the different operating systems, and it is also called as target, because this is the target of the virtualization. And second is the guest. So this is called as this machine, the OS which we installed on the OS, that is called as a guest OS, and also called as a source OS. Okay, so this is what host and the guest OS. Now let's try to understand what is VMM. Now this part is there in your syllabus. What is VMM? VMM is called as virtual machine monitor. Virtual machine monitor is also called as hypervisor. And hypervisor, what is VMM and what is hypervisor? It is a software layer providing the virtualization. And the virtualization technique can be of two types. It can be of type 1 or it can be of type 2. Type 1 is called as bare metal hypervisor, and type 2 is called as hosted hypervisor. What is bare metal hypervisor and what is hosted hypervisor? Okay. In bare metal hypervisor, VMM run directly on the host hardware as the hardware control and guest operating system monitor. in which what happens is you have a virtual machine in the bare metal hypervisor. Here you can, I can draw. Let's have whiteboard again. Okay. So now here what we are going to do is we are going to see the bare metal hypervisor, and so here this is your physical. The first one which we are seeing is bare metal hypervisor. So this is my physical hardware. Okay. This is the hardware. Now on that hardware, what you will do is you will actually install the type 1 hypervisor. You actually install the type 1 hypervisor or type 1 VMM. Okay. On that VMM, on that you can make the other VMs on this hypervisor. It will enable you to make the virtual machines on it, right? So you have not installed any OS on it. What you have directly installed, you have directly installed the hypervisor on it, right? And then on that hypervisor, you can actually create different VMs. So that is called as bare metal hypervisor. Okay, why it is called as bare metal? Because on a physical hardware, you actually install the hypervisor, that is a type 1 hypervisor, and then you actually able to make the different VMs on that hypervisor. That is called as a bare metal hypervisor. Let's try to understand the type 2 hypervisor. Now again, you have the physical hardware. Okay, this is my physical hardware. Now you have on that physical hardware, you must be having operating system. Okay, you have your operating system on it. And then on this operating system, what you will have is you will have a hypervisor. That means on the operating system, you will install the hypervisor, which is type 2 hypervisor. Okay, this is called as type 2 hypervisor, and on that type 2 hypervisor, you can actually create your EVM. And if you want to run your application on directly on your OS, then you can also run that application directly from your OS, right? But if you want to create another VM, and on another VM you want to install another OS, that is also possible because of the type 2 hypervisor. Okay. So now the question to you is, you have seen both the hypervisor. This hypervisor is type 1 hypervisor, where we directly install the hypervisor on the hardware, and in the second one we actually install the OS first, and then we install the second hypervisor. Now you have used the VirtualBox and the VMware. Can you tell me what type of hypervisor VirtualBox and the VMware are? VirtualBox, VMware Workstation, huh? So the some of the answer which I got is type 2 hypervisor. Why they are saying this type 2 hypervisor? Because if you see that you install on your OS, whether it is Windows or any Linux OS or any other OS, on that first you install that OS, and on that OS you install the type 2 hypervisor. And what is type 2 hypervisor? They are the type 2 hypervisor. You install them, and then again on this hypervisor you create the VM and install the other OS. So that's why it is called as, they are nothing but the hypervisor, or you can say VMM, and they are type 2 hypervisor. On that you can create your own virtual machine. So this was about the hypervisor. So I think I have covered today the some of the virtualization part. In the next lecture, what I'll try to do is we'll try to have the comparison between the cloud computing and the virtualization, and then we can proceed with the first experiment of this of CCL. Okay. So if any doubt regarding related to this, what we have covered today, if you have any doubt, then you can ask. Otherwise, you post your attendance in the chat box.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, last lecture you told na that for registering for cloud.
Yes.
So, ma'am, in that what we have to select for challenge track?
All. Select all.
Select all, na?
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome. So I hope all have given the attendance in the chat box. So thank you, students, for joining. You may leave.